Welcome to the RAG Podcast, the weekly show where I interview recruitment owners who are prepared to tell their unique story of growth. This is all in aid of helping future and existing recruitment businesses who are looking to do similar things. Now, growth means different things to different people. So by tuning in every week, you're no doubt going to find information that's relevant to you.
On this week's episode of the RAG Podcast, I'm joined by James Sanders, the founder of PSR Recruitment, a specialist construction recruitment organisation headquartered in the UK. They started in 2005 and for 17 years just substantially grew. They got to the point where they had 4 brands through acquisition with over 200 heads and then went into administration. They owed over £3 million of debt to be paid within 7 days that they could not make it. In this episode, James gives a really honest account of the good times and the bad, how he's dealt with administration and come out on the other side. This is one of the most honest episodes I've ever recorded, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did recording. So, let's get into it. Without further ado, James, welcome to the RAG Podcast.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Thanks for coming up. Early start from Stafford, you said this morning?
Yep. 7 o'clock. Left my house, which is, pretty early for me these days, yeah.
Well, this is our final day recording in Sheffield. So if you ever back on the show, it'll probably be likely in London, all right? So is it easier to get here or is it easier to get down there?
You know what? It's probably quicker to get to London for me, yeah. Direct train from Stafford, yeah.
Well, you've got a Sheffield office, so you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone today.
That's correct, yeah. I'll be in to see them later on, yeah.
Wicked. Well, look, let's get into it. Without giving the full historical data, because we're going to go into that, give us the bird's eye view of you and the business for people that don't know you.
Yeah, so we are predominantly a construction recruitment business and a small team that deal with healthcare. We've got a national presence, which is 6 offices, turnover in excess of £65 million, 85 staff, and we payroll an average around 1,000 contractors on a weekly basis.
So it's pretty busy.
Yeah.
And what's your life like at home in terms of family? Have you got a lot to look after there?
Kind of have, but yeah, they're obviously getting older now. So wife and 2 children, a girl that's 16 and a boy that's 15. So they're A-levels and GCSEs.
So you've got an incredibly busy home life and incredibly busy work life, I imagine.
Yeah, I think the home life has obviously undoubtedly got easier as the kids got older, but still, there's lots of kids club like every other parent has. Like, yeah, kids club's probably 5 days a week, yeah.
There's something, I was at dive-in school last night with my 11-year-old girl, and yeah, I totally mistimed it. I'm doing sleep training with the baby right now, so I've got to be home for 8 o'clock to put her in bed. But I was also at dive-in and I mistimed it, and I got home 5 minutes before sleep training started. So we've got something going on every night, mate. I know what it's like. Do us a favour then. Let's go back. So you started your business in 2005, which is correct. But before that, did you start your career with Hill McGlynn? That's
correct.
I work for Randstad in Australia, which you probably listened to with the Kate Cross episode.
Yeah. So
I know that brand just from the fact that I sat next to all the Aussie Hill McGlynn guys that had been acquired. Yeah. So you worked with Simon Cross, I believe.
Yeah.
What was on a high level, what was your journey into the industry like? How would you describe it?
The industry was kind of fell into it like most people do. I came back from traveling around the world, and good friend now, he was in recruitment. And we went out up and said, what you can do? I was like, no idea. And he just said, listen, it's working for me. I think you'd be good at it. Give it a go. And I literally a 2-day assessment centre with Hill McGlynn.
Where was this based? In Birmingham?
That was actually in Bristol. Lots of people. I think it was the first time they'd done a major intake. I think there must have been about 50 people that went to the assessment centre. And I think they hired, I want to say about 12 people off the back of it. And yeah, I was one of those 12, and I got the gig into their Birmingham office, which is relatively local to where I was. So.
Cool. And how did you take to the job?
Well, yeah, it was kind of my first proper job in also I was green as grass completely. So, but you know what? I think I'd done my enjoyment out of going around the world and everything like that. So it was about being serious at that point. So I just tried to embrace everything from the training, the support around me, and there were some fantastic consultants and billers and managers. And what I realised in a short space of time, I was actually in a really good business. Yeah. So it was about embracing it, and I remember thinking, I could be here for forever. This is a great business. And
I was there early 20s at that point. Or?
I was 23 when I first started, so kind of into the working world a little bit later than everybody else. But I loved my time there. Yeah.
And how would you describe your performance as a recruiter in those days?
So I started on a contract desk, and then I realised that I was probably a little bit more strategic. So I went across on a permanent desk, and yeah, that kind of flourished. That I found my kind of calling there at that point.
Perm in construction, I imagine, is still quick though, right? It's not as slow paced as other sectors.
Can be. Yeah, it can be. More recent, it feels a little bit quicker with lots of movement anyway. I joined a team out the Birmingham office, and yeah, my career just flourished. It was that trainee, consultant, senior, team leader, and then I became branch manager, for Hill McGlynn Birmingham.
Right. What do you think you had skills-wise that got you to the branch manager role? Because not every recruiter I know can get to that level or want to get to that level or have the skills to get to that level.
No. I think I was probably quite personable with every member of staff, so I felt that my team was very connected. I think at the time there was 4 teams, and then one of those team leaders was going to get the branch manager gig, and I think it was because I think my team at the time probably spoke highly of me and what I'd done and how I operate and how I treat people. Probably got me the overall gig at branch manager level. And
how would you describe how you treated those people?
I don't know. Everything from the little bits, the praise when it needs to be praised, the kick when it needs a kick, and just generally treating people well and being nice, and what you say you're going to do, you actually do and deliver upon.
So it's quite simple, really.
Yeah, it is simple, but the reality and what I've seen, and I'm sure what loads of people of your listeners seen, it's sometimes harder said than done.
Yeah, but I think the challenge, if I look at my experience, the challenge I had was being a top contract recruiter was so all-consuming. It wasn't like you could just run that on autopilot. Like, it was every day from the start to the end that you were thinking about where you had to be. You had targets. You never felt like you'd conquered it. Even when I was billing like 700k, I'd still felt like I was a novice, really. Yeah. To then suddenly be plunged into a project where you've got other people to think about. All them little things you said, like the kick and the praise and the Guardiola type management, I didn't even think about that. Like, no one told me. I just kind of thought, well, I'm just going to lead by example, come along with me. What that meant was my standards were way too high for people. Yeah. I didn't have time. I didn't have patience. I know I didn't have the patience for people. So if they didn't find the solution as fast as I did, I got pissed off.
Yeah.
But like, why are you still thinking that? Or why? So I learned, and I became, I believe, quite a good manager. Although I'm not, I'd still put myself as not. I don't like being a manager. It's not my role. Did you naturally have that, or did someone like put their arm around you and show you those things?
I probably felt it came quite natural to me to be the leader, and I think I just gleaned that from my own experiences and the people that trained me as well, and how they treated me, and I thought what does good look like, and there's a little bit this and a little bit that off other people, and you just learn your way then.
Did you make a conscious decision though to go into more of a management role, or was it something that they kind of funneled you through?
I think it was both at that time. Hill McGlynn was a really growing business. There was opportunity there, and there was that pathway, wasn't there? Principal consultant or team leader, and it was quite an easy decision for me to go down the managerial route. Yeah.
So, talk me through when you started to realize, or what the moment you realized that maybe you'd set your own business up. Where did that come in?
I think the one day I probably looked around my office, and I must have joined Hill McGlynn Birmingham office when there was 15 people, and I remember being branch manager, and there must have been, let's say, 35 people, and I've been in the role of branch manager, let's say only 6 months, and I look around the office, most people had gone home, we're behind target, and I think at that point I realised I can't control my target, what I'm now paid against, i.e. the office target. I'm a little bit out of control.
Why is that?
Because I'm too reliant on a business that is going through massive growth, hiring a lot of graduates at that time, and the expectations level in a busy marketplace were like, well, we're growing, every office is growing, targets are going up. The pressure was on. I was fine with pressure, but I felt like I wasn't in control of my destiny at that point. I was reliant upon, let's say, younger consultants that maybe had more of a keen eye in going to the pub rather than actually hitting their personal target. And it's trying to get that balance of, working with these people and getting them motivated about their careers, because, construction and recruitment is a fantastic industry. What you put in, you get out.
Yeah, agreed.
And I just don't think there was that many on that page at that point. And I just thought there's a lot of work going into
Had you been bringing them through, though? Or was it someone else's decision?
Me and other, it wasn't just all me. There was other team leaders, there was a training department, there was a HR department. So there was support there, because it was a really good business, but you felt you were responsible for your office target. And
so how gradual was that process? Because the way I look at it is like, it's like train tracks. When you're happy with an employer, you're typically on the same trajectory as the business, and it's like two parallel tracks. Yeah, and it only needs to deviate like a tiny bit, and then it if that's that 1 degree change. Yeah, in a year, suddenly you feel. And I remember that for me, took about it was about an 18-month period from feeling like you say, I could work here forever. This is just, I'm being paid a fortune. My life's great. Everything's set. I was about 27, 28, thinking, bloody hell, this is brilliant. Yeah. To like being 29, thinking, I can't do this for much longer. And what was your journey like there?
Mine was probably about 6 months, I would say. Yeah. I mean, I was probably in the role of branch manager probably too soon. Right. That's the reality. But, everything happens for a reason. I learned so much. I was by far the youngest branch manager. I think they had probably 7 at the time. So I learned a lot of those meetings, and it was more looking at the financials, the P&L. So I learned a lot, but then, when it started for me to go, actually, I'm not enjoying it as much as what I used to do, that's when I started to think about, okay, what are my options at that point? And it kind of, things happened. There was an opportunity to actually go to Dubai and head up the Dubai office for Hill McGlynn. And I had that very simple choice. I could stay, potentially be unhappy doing the role that I was in place. Was I brilliant at it anyway? I'd question mark myself back then. Do I go to Dubai, or do I set something up on my own?
So
that was the decision.
You made that decision?
Yep.
So what was it like leaving and setting up? We'll talk us through the process.
Yeah, I remember it kind of vividly as well. So I pulled my team leaders on the Thursday night, like, can we go for a game of pool? And used to obviously play pool at a place down the road from us, have a beer after work. And we're like, all right then, yeah. And told them I'm going to be handing my notice in tomorrow. Mike Bowers, my kind of line manager, he was aware, and they were like in shock, because it's all been great company, all rosy. And one of the chaps at the time said, should we stay and have another drink? So everyone else left. He stayed and have another drink with me. And he said, listen, if you're going, come with you and we'll do it together. And really at that split moment, I went, yeah, okay then, as you do.
So you've planned your own business, and then someone just jumps on the back like that?
Yeah. And I think I was comfortable to try it on my own. My dad had his own business. My brother had got his own business. So I felt I could lean off those experiences. But at that split moment, it was that.
Was that person as a similar level to you in terms of their experience?
He was a team leader. He was one of my team leaders, effectively.
Yeah. So you knew him well. Yeah. You trusted him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So did you go 50-50 then? Or?
Went 50-50.
Right. Yeah. How did that feel to go from 100% to 50% instantly?
Well, I think at the time, you talk about your 100% of nothing or 50% of nothing. It was a gut reaction. And I looked at the skill set that they had and the skill set that I had, that they were a contract recruiter. I was kind of morphed into this perm recruiter, and I thought it'd work, and certainly it did for a large part of the.
So where did the name come from?
PSR is Palmer Sanders Recruitment, and his surname was Palmer. So I picked up S. And
Easy.
It was easy. Yeah, it was easy.
What was it going to be? SR?
No, I'd not even got to that point. I don't think. No.
There's already a business called the SR Group.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
So 2005, different world. What was your life like then outside of work? Because I think that's one thing, is taking the plunge to finish and start on your own. The foundations need to be set in your personal life, or there needs to be some foundation that you think, I can take this risk now. Yeah. What were you going through then?
Pretty settled, house, partner. She was full-time employee. I was full-time employee. So
no kids
on the scene or anything like that at the moment.
Your oldest, so you're 3 years in.
Yeah. So
did you have enough money saved that you didn't need to pay yourself, or how did you do that?
A little bit, and I had a nice sports car which I sold, and that gave me.
What did you get? Did you get yourself something else, like a Micra or something, just to
Renault Laguna?
Go on, that's a real startup car. Renault
Absolutely,
Laguna.
yeah.
That's got to be done, those sacrifices. And what about, because the guy you started with took a decision like that? Mm-hmm. Did he have the infrastructure to go and take that plunge, or did you? I think he was
perhaps more desperate to get some fees on the board, which wasn't a bad thing, absolutely. So yeah, that kind of worked. Yeah.
So how did the first year go?
First year was we did a deal in like the first 3 weeks.
Wow.
And we thought, this is easy. We'll go and play pool in the afternoon and make a few phone calls in the morning. Yeah. And it went from working 60 hours a week to 6 hours a week, and it was great, but that was like, no, this is not me. How long did you do that for? Probably best part of about 12 months.
Wow. So usually people say they work 100 hours in the first year. You worked less.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. It was bedroom recruitment. There was no overheads.
No office,
No office.
2005, working remotely. Wow.
Yeah.
What about kit and things did you need to run a business back then? Did you not need
So we just did permanent recruitment, so laptop and mobile phone.
See, in 2005, that's quite innovative, I think.
Yeah, we Excel spreadsheet for our database.
Really?
And that was it, yeah. Yeah. But we'd both done, I think I'd done 5 years, Mark had done 4. So we'd got contacts. So again, I think me and Mark kind of did say we put ourselves against, the people that the office that we've just
Did you not have a non-compete though for 6 months?
Yeah, we did, but we just knew enough people at the time. And we still got on with people at Hill McGlynn because we used to pull contract vacancies, and we used to phone them up and say, there's a vacancy for you, because we're just focusing on perm.
Really? So even your guy who was a contract recruiter didn't do a contract to begin with?
No, we just did all perm.
Why is that? Because of invoicing? And
we didn't have the finances to pay a temp in our world or anything like that. So we wanted to build up our brand, which was PSR. It was new to it. And we wanted to get some fees on the board, some money behind us before we thought about launching freelance. Yeah.
Obviously, brand is my passion, right? It's what I love to work with businesses on and talk about. Not so much of the RAG is focused on that. And I want to bring a bit more of it in, because you've just said it there, right? Naturally, you want to build a brand. So back in 2005, what did that look like to you? What was building a brand? What did it mean?
I think in simple terms, it was just being the best construction recruiter. We only operated in the Midlands at the time, and we wanted to be the go-to person for those major clients. We knew we weren't going to get on. PSLs were coming into the frame, but we knew we could get a relationship that actually that person who is in a senior position was going to pick up the phone to us and nobody else at that point, and we would deliver, because it's our business. We work hard to actually fill those vacancies in the early days, and it's like anything. You place someone in a strategic position as well, and then you look after them. You get a relationship, and all of a sudden, they're coming to you with 10 roles after you.
Did you think about it like, this is what we want to be known for? Did you map any of that out and say to each other, right? Because I think this is an exercise that is quite simple, but even just saying, what words would we like people to use to describe us? Did you ever think about any of that sort? Or it just happened by osmosis from doing the job?
Reality. And it was, can we get on that project? Can we get with that client? And as simple as that. And we kind of wrote a business plan, but I think that went in a drawer and we never opened it after the first week of kind of writing it. And I remember thinking, if we can get to that standard of living that we had previously, because that was obviously both good for both of us. And I remember having a rough plan of getting to 10 staff, and that was...
So what did you bill in that first year?
Probably about 120 grand.
Between you?
Between us, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It was enough to live.
It was enough to live. But I remember thinking, that's not why I left in the first place. And it didn't surprise me that we only built that amount, because we were playing golf, we were playing pool.
Yeah.
we weren't working.
So that, being really honest, then your behaviors didn't align with being the best construction recruiter, did it? Because to be that, you've got to be all encompassing. And also, did it go against you to only offer perm when you're going into a customer and they're like, right, well, we want to embrace you as one of our partners, and you know, you're claiming you're this amazing business, but you only do 50% of what we need?
Yes and no. There are agencies out there at the moment that really only focus on one particular discipline as well. So it could have gone against us, but we didn't really have that issue.
Good. I think it's a limited belief is why I brought it up. I genuinely think it's a limited belief. You get a lot of people do a lot of things they don't want to do, but they say they can't drop it because clients will drop them.
Yeah.
And I always say, are you sure?
Yeah.
Like, are you sure? Surely as an employer hiring, you'd rather work with a partner that absolutely knew what they were doing rather than someone who said, oh yeah, we'll do a bit of that and we'll do a bit of that. Surely.
Yeah.
Agree with that, yeah?
Yeah, totally. I think it was, again, just being honest and transparent with your whoever it is, so the person you work with or your client or your candidate or anything like that.
Yeah.
And
so how did the business grow then? So year down the line, you sit and look at each other and say, come on, we need to actually turn this into a business now. We're having a great laugh, but we're never going to get beyond what we even earn as employees. So what happened next?
Our first member of staff joined the business and literally changed overnight in terms of how we were coming to work, what we were wearing, what time we started. It literally changed the day they started the business. And that first employee, within, I don't know, literally 2 months, that was another one. And then all of a sudden we're like, right, we need to move out my house at that point.
So these people were coming to your house to work?
Yeah.
Around the kitchen table or something?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And then we got an office. And then, of course, that minute you get the office, it's like, crikey, we've got an overhead here. We've got to fill it. Yeah. So we probably then took another additional 3 team members on. And those probably 3 are still with me now. So yeah, there's longevity in a lot of the staff as well.
And then all those skills you developed of managing people were coming back out of you then?
Yeah, I think so. But again, these people were people that were known to me anyway. So it's not like I really had to manage them at that point. It was more a question of, this is what we've got to work with. Let's all work together.
What was the sell for them to come along?
It was attractive commission sheet, because I knew they were in the big corporate world of the Randstads, that all of a sudden I could say to them, you come and do this for me and this is what you can earn, as opposed to, you know, what are your boundaries working for me as opposed to working for Randstad at that point. So that was the attractive part, I think, of
So it was mainly Randstad people that what you went and got?
Yeah. I think my first 4 hires were people.
Did they
from
come after you for that, or any issues?
No.
You waited long enough, didn't you? It's not like you did it.
Yeah, that was 2 years really before those big people came on board. I actually had a brilliant relationship with the founders of Hilmglyn and kept in touch with all of them. Bless them, obviously two have passed away, but yeah, the next I'm still in touch with now. So
great. Yeah. So how did that trajectory grow then? Because you've got 88 people now. It's a beast of a business, really. How did your headcount trajectory and revenue align, and when did contracts get included in that piece?
So yeah, contract was launched in 2007, and that was the pull for bringing people across. Like, we'll concentrate on the perm. You start our contract desk, so of course going out getting factoring, but I guess at that point we've got a bit more of a proven track record. We're not a startup. We've got some accounts, albeit they're not amazing, but there's a starting point, and we've got relationships. So I think we went with Bibby at the time, and we £1 million facility, and I think after about 6 months we were knocking on the door going, we need a bigger facility, we're putting more temps out. Yeah. So we moved to Barclays. We almost got to the point where we couldn't place any more temps because the facility wasn't big enough, but you know, revenue sales were increasing. So yeah, everything had to go at a certain speed to accommodate with the finances and the growth of the business. And I think by that point, there was coming back to the word brand, Sean, we'd got a reputation of hiring really good people that were top of their game in the Midlands in that construction marketplace. Yeah. Actually, we were attractive proposition for then a trainee or a consultant. They didn't have to be a principal consultant that's used to billing 500 grand or anything like that. We had infrastructure around us that we thought would work as well. So I think from 2007, our launch of our freelance business, obviously 2008 hit. I just employed a Jovan, actually,
really?
in August 2008. And of course, it was batten down the hatches, and we did. We kept the team, but of course, because we were such a close-knit team, it was, right, we've got a vacancy, and we've got 7 people to try and fill this one vacancy, or it's one client, and we'll focus on that one client. So we actually became closer as a team back then. Fast forward a couple of years of kind of coming out of that period, we're taking on a couple more. We've moved offices, all kind of local to me in Stafford. And we got to a point in 2012 where I started an office in London through a contact of mine, and I didn't really know where we were going. You know, we surpassed the 10 headcount, the magic number that we thought we were going to. Again, I never really stopped and reflected or wrote a business plan back then with Mark. And I had a phone call from the previous CEO of a firm called Ian Brown. We'd just taken one of their team leaders. He'd actually left the business and said, like, I hear good things about what you're doing. I'm doing this non-exec role. Are you interested in a chat? And I spoke to him, engaged with him for perhaps a 18-month, 2-year period. And he was great because, again, I'd got no line manager above me for what was a 5-6 year period of time. So it was good to bounce ideas off him at that point.
How regularly did you invest in chatting to that
Once
person?
a month.
Right.
We had monthly meetings for I would probably say 18 months.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was helping me put some real foundations in place at that point, like core values and targets and, I don't know, meetings or reporting and all that sort of stuff that now is second nature. But I think that was a real turning point. We were going well. There was no issues in the business. Not like it was a cry for help. It was actually, I need some support at that point. I don't know everything far from it. So yeah, it was almost that helping hand that I think we needed as a business.
What about your business partner? So you mentioned you had complementary skills at the beginning. How did that, so we'll fast forward 8 years or so. How's that relationship now?
We departed in 2015.
Right. So at this point, he's still with you.
Still with me at this point. And yeah, he was that. You're a contract recruiter, so you'll know this. He was the door opener of the business, and I was the effectively running.
Yeah.
And again, that worked for a long period of time. And when it was, let's go down to London. Right. Mark, you help go down to London. Right. Let's look at another sector. I don't know, whatever that might be, M&A or something like that. Right, Mark, you go and do that. You go and do that. And then we had an opportunity when we were writing our non-exec director. We were thinking about, right, what's next?
Was he involved in those monthly meetings with the NED?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, we were thinking, what's next? And at the point we were talking about, right, well, let's write a meaningful business plan, and we did. And in that business plan was open an overseas office. And at the time we went, right, what's the fastest growing marketplace? And it was Hong Kong. And we went, right, Hong Kong it is. And we launched our business plan to our staff going, right, we're Stafford and we're London. Our next office is going to be Hong Kong. So, and the team were on board and we got this 5-year plan, if you like. It was to get to 50 staff. Everyone was on board and we were like, right, well, we need to go and open an office in Hong Kong then. Easy said than done. But it was easy-ish in that we had people we knew in Hong Kong that were recruiters from Hill McGlynn days.
Yeah.
And I reached out to one of the former owners, Stephen Ware, from my Hill McGlynn days. He was a partner in Hill McGlynn. And at the time, he was in Dubai running the Randstad office for Dubai. So I booked 2 flights to Hong Kong with a 14-hour stop in Dubai. And we said, we'll go and see Stephen for lunch and we'll tell him what our journey is going to be. And I know he's done international recruitment. He can massively help us. We've stayed on good terms. So that was good. And we went into the Dubai office in Randstad. I think there must have been about 40 heads in that Dubai office, thriving office. Stephen Ware, if you've never come across him, Sean, he's life and soul.
No.
If you ask Simon Cross one day about him, life and soul of the industry, a complete legend. And he literally sat me down, right, you're not going to Hong Kong, you're going to start in Dubai, and I'm going to help you, and I'll get you in with this, this, and this. So we literally left Dubai, going to Hong Kong, going, I don't know why we're going here now, because we're going to go into Dubai, aren't we?
But he was going to open up your Dubai office for you.
So at that time, Mark kind of said, I want to go. And at the time I said, like, I think it'd be good for you because that's kind of what you've been doing for the business. No, to open
Dubai.
up in Dubai, yeah.
Right.
Because that's the role that you've been doing in the business. It was that opening the doors, and all of a sudden we've got open doors in a completely foreign country. It's not an easy gig by any stretch. So yeah, Mark moved to Dubai and
he works alongside. Was it Simon? You say?
No, it's a guy called Stephen Ware. Stephen Ware at the time was at Randstad, and he actually came back from Dubai Randstad and left Randstad, and I actually employed Stephen into our London office. He lived in Southampton way.
So did he help that Dubai move though? For Mark?
He
supported him with knowledge.
Supported him with knowledge and contacts and everything like that. But yeah, mine and Mark's relationship started to, let's say, strain anyway, and we just decided that Mark would take Dubai on, I would come out of Dubai and focus on the UK, and Mark would focus on Dubai.
And split the business up completely. Yeah. So how long was he out there till you made that decision?
About 12 months.
Right.
Something like that.
So how did that feel? Because I suppose you've done the hard work to get him there, and you've probably seen some progress out there.
We saw opportunity, but we didn't really, it was probably costing more than what we anticipated and what we budgeted for. And then with me kind of focusing on the UK, I felt that it was, like any partnership, no two people the same, and the kind of needs and wants were probably a little bit different and realigned anyway. So it just made sense for me on a personal level as well.
How complicated was that to unravel a business that you've started together?
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy at the time, and on reflection, definitely not easy. But I think both parties at that point kind of wanted it as well.
So you had to get lawyers involved, and how long did that take?
Easy 6 months.
Yeah.
Easy 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you feel once he was out of the business?
I think I was re-energized at that point to go, you know what, back yourself at that point. You know, you put yourself into this position, you've got to make it work. And I knew I had good people around me anyway, and I felt they were on my page at that point and were prepared to, be a part of the next journey, if you like.
So what was the leadership team like when Mark left, and what's the infrastructure around you in the UK business?
So yeah, if I look back, and I talked about the 4 team leaders I had at Hill McGlynn, they were all part of PSR.
Right, they'd moved over.
So, excuse me, John Burks, who's someone I went travelling with, so I actually brought him into Hill McGlynn way back in the day. He was my 3rd person through the door at PSR, so he was a very loyal friend of mine. Yovan, and the story with Yovan, I talked about the assessment centre. So Yovan started at Hill McGlynn on the very same day as me.
Wow.
So, of course, that connection, if you like, that stayed us kept us in good stead until today. Yovan and John both with me, yeah.
So you had those two by your side running. What was the vision then? So post-Mark, what's this? Are you looking to scale and exit or whatever? Like, what's the vision?
Yeah, the vision there, I kind of went back to a business plan that was actually, right, let's get serious. Let's take that 50 headcount that we set a 5-year business plan would come to the end of that, would actually achieve that in 4 years, not 5 years. So it was actually good timing from a perspective to actually launch a new vision.
So you had 50 people at that point?
Yeah. A new vision for, in the UK we had 50 people, and that was a 10-year vision effectively to kind of double all our numbers really. It was to take it to 100 people, 6 offices, strangely enough, I think, because I think we only had 2 at the time, and be that national recruiter.
What would that mean for you from a profit or EBITDA perspective if you got to?
We were looking at a £20 million gross margin with, grand gesture to get to £5 million in net profit.
Right.
That was it was very numbers, business plan as a vision, but at least it was easy to remember. I think.
And what year is this?
2016.
Right. So yeah, 8 years.
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot happened and we want to talk about with the PCN business and things in that period. So how did that track then over that next few years? Now, because it is a super clear vision, 100 people.
Yeah.
And, 20 million gross margin, 5 million EBIT. That's super clear.
Yeah. First 3-4 years, all on track. We opened in Sheffield, we opened in Southampton, all through organic growth. The Midlands operation continued to be the heartbeat of the business.
Still just looking at Hill McGlynn people all the time? Or did you
No. At this point, we'd certainly got the infrastructure around us, whether that's HR department or onboarding and compliance and all these disciplines and marketing and everything like that. We had the infrastructure internally.
Yeah.
Training is a major part of our business. We've had a full-time trainer for a long period of time. And we just set about we will train the staff our way, how we want to be trained. So I can think of 10 hires max.
But to go and open a Sheffield though, is that because you found someone who lives there or wanted to live there and then is that why you've done it, or is it a business opportunity there?
No, it was all through people.
Yeah.
All through, and again, that's an interesting one, that they approached us from, I think, the reputation that we'd got, and we were like, hang on a minute, you're up there, we're down here.
Yeah.
And they actually lived Dronfield.
Yeah.
And they actually worked out of Stafford office. Wow, which I've just done the journey this morning. I don't know how they did it. And then they went, listen, I'll come in bed with you. We'll get to know Pierce, and then if there's opportunity and the business continues to grow, I'll open Sheffield for you. And they did.
And what's your ingredients, I suppose, to opening a location? Like, why would you, other than someone wants to head it up in 2024-5, when everything's going a lot more remote than it used to be, everything's less face to face than it used to be.
Yeah.
Do you need all these offices anymore? Like, what's the ingredients to going? Yeah, that makes sense.
I think just backing people. I'm always the firm believer of kind of backing people. That's worked. You give them the infrastructure. You've got the processes in place. They're on your wavelength at that point. So it doesn't matter if they're in Keighley or Southampton or Sheffield or wherever. I think if they're part of the business and part of the brand, and we communicate, every single day, they can be everywhere or anywhere.
But you need to go, right, if you're going to do Sheffield because you want to live there has to be a big enough market in Sheffield for you to go and hit, like from both a candidate and client, but also a talent pool, so that it makes commercial sense to be there.
Yeah, it would. So we wouldn't go Cumbria and go, actually, let's open up a construction office in Cumbria where, there's no disrespect, lovely part of the world, but it's not, 100 mil skyscraper projects going on at any one time. So we always wanted to get into the hubs of the cities where all the majority of all the work is, but we felt, as a business, we achieved that, some 6 years ago, I dare say.
Yeah. I'm interrupting today's episode to talk about our sponsor, Atlas, the only AI-first recruitment platform on the market. Now, imagine you had a genuine assistant following you around, listening to everything you said on the phone or in meetings, and then doing all the admin for you that you don't want to do. Well, that is actually possible now through Atlas CRM. It's the only platform with fully integrated AI, so there's no note-taking whatsoever and no need to buy any additional software. Now, they've got so many amazing features. Specifically, they've got AI-generated interview notes. That means Atlas AI provides comprehensive interview notes minutes after a call ends, detailing every question asked and responses given. This includes a highly accurate transcript and a recording option, so you never have to rely on taking ridiculous notes while you're on the phone. You can listen intently and get the best notes afterwards using AI. Okay, so Atlas is brand new to the market and launching so rapidly. For the first 200 members, they are offering what's called a founder's license, okay? And the founder's license is going to be a 40% discount for life, okay? And it's only for the first 200. Now, if you want to be in the first 200, you're listening to this episode through The Rag, you're going to have a great chance. Go to www.recruitwithatlas.com/The Rag and sign up on that page. All right, let's get back to the show. So when did it all start to change?
COVID, really. we approached 2000, like everything was going really, really well as a business. We were on top of, better clients, better opportunities, attractive. Every office was growing. COVID hit, as it did for everybody. We had a short panic on that everyone at that point was in the office. We didn't really have many laptops, so it was 100 mile an hour to get everyone on a laptop. Beg, borrow, not quite still, but we managed to do that. But that really, weirdly, that brought everybody closer to the business at that point. We were doing daily Zooms calls. We were dead transparent with the business where we are on day one of the pandemic. When the money's going to run out, what actions we're taking as a core management team, and we put on literally, anything. We enlisted with some support externally, so we would put something on every single day for the staff to feel engaged with the brand. And as we started, obviously the furlough came in, that kind of saved us. Our temporary workforce literally dropped. Yeah, even though there was all talk about construction, it's still going and all that sort of stuff, but not for our temporary workforce that they were let go. But those that were kind of started to come back from furlough, it was well, the business has looked after me. We paid every single commission payment throughout that period. So I think we gained a bit of loyalty during that process. And what we realised is actually what we've done and how we've done it, even though it was quite simple for us at the time, there was lots of others that were making some shocking decisions, not talking to staff, not paying them commission. So we kind of started to springboard out of COVID in a really good position. We'd made some quite senior major hires during that period. And then an opportunity came up to acquire a business in an industry, healthcare. And we were like, well, yeah, construction is all we've ever known. And actually healthcare, wow, with COVID going on at the moment, what an industry that could be to actually get into.
So we all know that coming out of the first lockdown and the market's turned, right? Things went well. So in that period, you didn't just, leverage the loyalty. You ended up starting buying businesses. So talk us through this acquisition strategy that began off the back of COVID.
Yeah, I think what we realised is what we'd done and how we do it was good, and there was a lot of businesses and a lot of unhappy people across the board there. And again, we came out of our construction bubble and started speaking to different businesses and different industries. And of course, you get those emails, don't you, about those, we've got this business and all that sort of stuff.
Was it one of them then?
It was, yeah, pretty much. And then all of a sudden I was like, well, actually, we could do it ourselves. And we've got, I remember sending the message out, does anybody worked in healthcare recruitment internally? And there was about 4 people who said, yes, this is my background, blah, blah, blah. We can do it ourselves, or actually we could do something we've never done ever before. And we went into acquisitions and started that ball rolling.
Is that just to fast track growth?
Yeah, it was really. I think it was market diversification off the back of, right, we're just in construction. Let's go into another market.
And healthcare, obviously, post-COVID, you thought is a bit more robust.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then what we realised, the more we spoke to the business owner and more importantly, the staff is like, wow, what we do is like head and shoulders above what they've ever had. And it was a business that had been going 10 years. Like they'd never had training. They've had 10 meetings over a 10-year period. They don't have meetings. They don't have technology to help drive their business.
So why were they attractive though? Were they running some decent numbers?
They were doing okay numbers. And I was thinking, under our guys, their numbers could do so much more as well. So it was an attractive opportunity for us. And so we just went with it basically.
So one acquisition, and that was quite successful, right?
Yeah. That's the firm up in Keighley. They work in the healthcare industry, predominantly in the care home sector.
Right.
So that went well. I threw myself into it. I effectively moved there for 3 days a week because it was owner that effectively I bought out. So I kind of replaced her myself and tried to bring PSR into what was the brand of SYK. Wanted to keep their brand of SYK. And that's where we started to think about what PSR is, what PSR Group might be, because then we started to think about actually how we're going to diversify our business going
Was it still
forward.
to get to that 5 million EBITDA, 100 people? Is this just a way of getting there?
Get a way of getting there effectively,
Right.
yeah, absolutely. So 12 months down the line, I thought it's not right for me to spend 3 days a week up there. I'm looking to come back home effectively. So I started to recruit for a managing director for SYK. I came across a lady called Jane Cooper when I was looking for this managing director. 3 good meetings with her, and she literally turned around and said, that role's not for me, but I love what you do, how you do it, where you do it. I've got an idea, and that was using her experience, which she'd been in the healthcare industry for 15 years, and she wanted to use technology to help drive industry change into the NHS world. So I effectively backed her, and we created a startup called Novello, which it does what it says in the tin. It's technology-driven recruitment. Started that business, got up to 10 heads in that business. Things were going...
What year is this, like 2022 or something?
Yeah, 2022, yeah. Start of 2022. That was going well, but I think the construction sector was really rebounded at that point. That was going really, really well. So there was a good feel-good factor around the business.
Was this making money, Novello?
It was at the point from a desk perspective and salary and sales. Yes, it would have been break even, but we were investing in the technology. That was the expense, but we felt we needed the technology to get to what that business plan was, because that was the technology would replace the consultant effectively.
Right.
It was all automated shift patterns into the NHS really. So it was.
How much are we talking you invested in the tech?
I would probably say about £1 million, and that was built in the Ukraine about a month before war started. So you can imagine,
Wow.
you can imagine that. But to be fair, the business that we went with, they were fantastic. They didn't drop a day in the whole time. They relocated to western Ukraine and carried on working, and did their work, of course, over there. That's where they were based.
Incredible.
So that was just part of that journey, if you like. And I always thought, could that actually come into construction at some point? We were like, well, who knows? We own the IP. We'll have options down the line. So I thought, okay, that's good. And then the opportunity with PCN kind of came across our desk.
Is that another email?
I think it probably was.
Because it's
at
a
that
totally
point.
different, it's like fintech payments. It's totally different space.
Yeah, totally different.
And it's in Europe as well.
Well, it was in Europe, and I think they were doing a bit in the US back then and a bit in Singapore. We were starting to look at those emerging markets, so we'd spent quite a bit of time looking at the American market.
When you say we, who do you mean?
Me and my COO, a guy called David Burks,
Right.
We were pretty much leading on the strategy for the future, if you like.
Yeah.
So a big part of his remit was exploring market opportunity, as well as kind of making sure we're kind of delivering on our current portfolio, if you like. We came across PCN, and completely different, but from a market perspective, that whole fintech world just seemed like the future. That whole payments and how the world is changing, the bitcoins, and we were thinking, actually, this is only going to get bigger. And the massive attraction for us for PCN was their margins. That was just like off the scale compared to what we're used to in the construction world. And again, it felt a similar vibe to SYK in that they were 100% perm. And of course, we are 70% freelance. So we felt we could help them springboard their freelance operation.
Did you buy the founder out again?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Which
then,
is Jordan.
yeah.
Bought
Because
Jordan
Rohir
Ross.
was the first hire for
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think at the time Rahir had a small shareholding. So we kind of doubled his shareholding, kept him on and kept his management team on,
Yeah.
and bought Jordan out at that point.
How did that go?
That took about 6 months, a lot of backwards and forwards to Amsterdam. I think we saw Berlin once, but Jordan Lawrence is an English ex-kite surfer, so he was happy to meet us in London. He'd moved on. I think he moved on to Volt, hadn't he? So we used to meet him in London. He was living in Portugal, and I remember thinking, well, we'll go meet him in Portugal. It's quite like Portugal, so we'd met him over there twice. So their business was quite complicated as well. They got different operations in different countries, and so it was difficult to get over the line. But I remember thinking that the 2-3 months before we bought them, God, they've just had a record month. Everything is sounding fantastic for us to acquire that business.
Amazing. So once you've got the business, what happened next?
So, like, if I backtrack a couple of months, we'd had a brand new CRM system, and we had effectively our own CRM, and we had an online timesheet portal. The CRM was kind of end of life, if you like. So we went to the market. We went with a new all-encompassing system. I even brought in a project manager to help that transfer, but it went wrong effectively, and that caused us a backlog of timesheets and payroll queries that took best part of probably 6 months to resolve effectively. Because if you're that client and gets a different looking invoice on a construction job with no PO number, for example, they're just going to park it. And
so what happened then? You just stopped getting paid?
We stopped getting paid, and a lot of our invoices just went into query. And then when, of course, we were banking with HSBC, and once it goes over a certain time frame, we take the funding away from you. So we built up obviously quite a big buffer, but when you're paying out £1.5 million a week, that buffer goes pretty quickly. But we were still fairly comfortable. It's like, we've not lost the work, we've not lost the money. It's just moved to a debt rather than a loss of sale or a bad debt or anything like that. So we were still. This was pre the acquisition of PCM. We were still comfortable with where we sat as a business. The PCN deal went through. I want to say the January then, 22, January 23. It would have been January 23. It went through. And it was a relief to get it over the line.
So now you've got like 4 businesses.
Yep. And quite a few staff at that point.
Yeah.
I think we were 205 staff.
Right.
It was a big operation. So again, we had to start thinking about the infrastructure, because I remember thinking to get from 50 to 100, it's an extra layer of support you kind of needed. And we needed, that's that marketing manager who could handle it. So we brought someone else in. We were building this up. The one area that we didn't strengthen, we didn't find the right person and didn't focus is the finance department. That's kind of my big regret. And the reason really, Sean, is we'd never had an issue in like the 17 years of operation. We were never late payment with anything. So it was never a huge focus. It was always actually
It's just ticking. Yeah.
just going forward and everything like that. But then literally about 3 weeks after the acquisition of PCN, they had a client, SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, go bust. And that just put shockwaves across the whole fintech industry. So they're good numbers that we kept seeing because they were using Cube 19, and I think we were at the time. Yeah. So we're looking at their numbers, could see the rest, and it just dropped off a cliff. And
how much are we talking? What's the change?
Their revenue was going from averaging 350-400 grand a month to literally about 60 grand a month.
Oh my God.
So it really did drop off a cliff. And Amsterdam and Berlin, these people, good seasoned recruiters, they're on good basic salaries. So the overheads of that business was really quite scary in comparison to, our, standard UK recruiter, if you like.
So what did you do in that instance?
We literally had to scale everything back at that point.
Did you have to go straight to Amsterdam though and sit with Roger and say like?
Yeah, right. kind of. Dave took we between me and Dave, it was like you take that, and we made redundancies in Amsterdam, closed Berlin, and we made redundancies in London, and we were thinking, we need to kind of batten down the hatches. We stopped or we drew a lot of the fund into the technology in Novello. But it got to a point where actually HMRC, which at that point it was the biggest debt, I think they'd done their time of supporting businesses during COVID, and they just went medieval and said, like, we need this paying in 7 days, and that just wasn't achievable for us. So
how much is that you needed to pay?
it was about 3.2.
So when you hear that, let's just pause on that moment when someone says, right, you got 7 days to pay 3.2 million, and you know you can't do it.
Yep.
What goes through your body?
Panic.
You seem a pretty calm guy, though. Like, I obviously don't know you very well, but you've took a lot of hits in this business. So
Yeah.
Is this brand new to you, though? This level of
course,
issue?
that was without doubt brand new to me and brand new to experiences of being faced with something like that. And of course, I reaching out to people I knew in the industry. What can I do? How could we do it? And again, life is one big lesson, isn't it? And again, it was my failings at not bringing more experience into the finance part of our group, if you like, because I give the example of HMRC. Well, if you prided them that and asked for that, you'd have probably got that. We went back going, yeah, sorry, can't pay it. We'll pay it in 3 months. Give us a bit of leeway. And then all of a sudden that 3 months is £1 million a month plus your ongoing, which was, we were in monthly payments of around 150k a month. It was just, we just set unrealistic timescales because we didn't really have that proper
projection of
13-week cash flow forecasts.
Yeah.
Never needed them.
No.
So it was kind of alien to us at that point.
So what did you do at that point where they said 7 days? What did you actually do?
So we were obviously brought the bank into the conversations with where we're at because we were effectively using their funds. I think we had a £14 million payment line with them at the time, and they've been with us 7 years, so we're quite happy with how the business has been run and operated. And yeah, that whole whirlwind, if you like, is the bank gets more involved and they effectively go to their panel of support, and James, you choose a firm to help support you through this process. And I interviewed with the panel, chose a firm to help me guide myself through this process and look at what my options were at that point.
Which was?
It was effectively, you've got a business that's XYZ size that is attractive, and you know the one thing going in your favour at that point is the clients and the temps are loyal to you and they're still being paid. So our options were seek investment, pay HMRC off, or actually you take the plunge and the business to go into administration, and you have options then of buying it yourself, partnering with another firm, or letting another firm buy it at that point, and
But you're not in control. When you go into administration, do you lose control of the decision?
It certainly feels like that because there's so many factors that could go one way or another way. So I looked at refinancing it myself and taking out like personal loans and everything like that. And I looked at the other offering of partnering with another firm, if you like. And I went with that plan B, partnering with another firm. And you get to a point where you have to put offers on the table.
So did you officially go into administration?
Yeah. But you effectively buy it out of administration in the same day. And I was fairly comfortable that the firm that I went in with at that point, again, it was a very fast relationship. I was like, from introduction to deciding to go into business, that they're going to work with me after me running it for 17 years was probably a 3-week period, but It was literally.
And what were they? Is this a private equity business?
It's actually another recruitment business, really? But they are 50% owned, backed by effectively a small family firm with wealth, who are kind of silent partners. So again, they knew, because of another recruitment business, they knew about us, they knew what had happened, and they felt that they could support us going through the process. And there was some synergies in terms of what they do and what we do as well that we felt we could both leverage in the future.
So at this point then, you've gone into 50% shareholder or ownership with a new business.
Yep.
What happens to the 4 entities that you own? They all just get into...
So effectively, the operation, which is the big operation that we're struggling, that went to administration, and as part of that deal, you bought the group of businesses for £1. That was the best. That was the deal for the administrator, the best deal they had on the table. So we ran those businesses, or continued running those businesses, and that went through in August 23, and we were in a position that we had to do effectively what's called the collect out on behalf of the bank. So it goes into administration. The bank is still owed £11 million, and we had to collect that £11 million on behalf of HSBC. 2 weeks into startup of Newco, one of our major clients went to administration. We felt, okay, well, that happens. It's okay. We got credit cover. But the insurance company came back and said, no, that's credit cover was in the old business, gone into administration. Your policy is nil and void at that point. So when we kind of collect this money on behalf of the bank, they're like, well, you still owe us that money. And this was about 800K. So it was a large amount of money to find from a startup of a new business. And I think at the time, the bank were, well, we can still come after Newco. We've got cross guarantees across PSR Group, et cetera, et cetera. So again, we'd ran these other businesses, Novello, SYK, PCN, supporting them in Newco, but with this HSBC over the top of us going, actually, we could still come after you. And we're still about 1.5 million shortfall of what we're due back. And at the time, we were like, well, it's not worth it. So we approached the likes of Rahir and Jane and SYK and said, listen, we can't carry on with the bank over our heads like this. So we're going to have to put that side of the business into administration, which is pretty much 6 months after we'd just gone through administration. So, yeah.
So what happened to those businesses?
Rahir he did an MBO. I mean, to be fair, my investors said to me, do you want to buy any of these out and we can take out the HSBC debt? And I was like, you know what? I felt like I've done that journey a little bit. You could probably say I've got a few scars from it. But at the time,
there'd be a lot of trauma attached to that.
Yeah, there'd probably. But at the time, I thought to myself, you know what? Me and my team around me, which was that construction element, I think they just liked that we stayed in our lane anyway. So if I'd have gone, right, we were going to go back over here and back over there, I don't think they would have really appreciated it at the time anyway. So, yeah, I just made that conscious decision to go, you know what? They can pick up those businesses. And Rahir has, bought PCN, that management buyout, and is doing very well.
What about the other two?
Jane, exactly the same. Done that. She's still speak to Jane and Rahir a lot. SYK didn't happen. They didn't buy out of administration. They took a team to another business, and there was about 4 of them, which... And they really like PSR, and they said to me, James, can we stay? Can we stay? So as much as I said to all my staff, we're just focusing on construction. Quick decision. Went, you know what? We
kept a small team,
small holding.
Yeah.
And it was a good decision because they're.
So where are you now then in terms of, firstly from a business, and we'll talk about you as a person. So how stable is the ship with the banks and all the rest of it?
Yeah, so we put our financial year is April. So the investors, if you like, would have had a turbulent 9 months. And again, yes, finally we've got that CFO, chief finance officer, that's over everything, who's fantastic, who can help guide us and make some sound financial decisions on that basis with funding or anything like that. So they had a turbulent 9 months, but then when we kind of rewrote the budgets for this financial year, I think they're fairly happy because we've actually said what we would actually do as well, despite the fact, again, we're 95% construction recruitment. It's not an easy market. We've had 2 significant businesses fail, which has wiped out a lot of profits.
You said just in the last month you've had 2 more clients go bust.
Yeah. So we've had 3 in what is a 14-month period of time, and we wouldn't have had 3 in the 10 years before that. So
is there more of that on the horizon, do you think, next year?
I don't know, and possibly. But again, we look at that whole risk profile. And only recently, it was August, when we set up our new insurance policy, and it covered pretty much everything, but it was 100 grand excess as a claim, and we've done our excess anyway after 2 months. So the reality is, not a lot could go wrong from a debt profile perspective. So we have to just roll our sleeves up and keep going.
So where is the future heading now? So you're, like you said, you're a business of 88, did you say?
Yeah.
You're all UK now, 95% construction.
Yeah.
Is it still the same target, that 5 million EBITDA, but just in this world? Like, what do you get to now?
I think what we kind of wanted to do, because we still had kind of legacy debt to pay back to people, that we wanted to actually have a year of stability, and we had a small growth in our internal headcount for this financial year, which we've actually done. So it was really, let's get our house in order after a turbulent kind of 18 months, and that's been the plan, and everyone has stuck to the plan, and we're very clear with that plan, and we talk about it and we communicate it, we review it, so everyone's all on our page for that. And I think we just wanted to get that year one under our belt to go, you know what, a lot has happened. If we come out the other side and we achieve, I think we're going to do about £8.4 million gross margin. And I think our best is about 9.6, and I reckon we're about 130 heads as opposed to 85. So we've streamlined and made mass efficiencies in our workforce. So yeah, we want to get to year one, get that out of the way.
Yeah.
And then maybe take a little breathe to go, actually, what is the plan? And, I'm in conversations with our investors about, okay, that long-term view. They're not in it for a 5-year flip or anything like that. That they're on a journey. And we kind of always said, let's be open, let's be transparent. There's going to be opportunities for both parties, one point or another. Let's talk and keep everything on the table at that point. And so I'm quite open-minded. I'm 48. I haven't got a 50, 55 or anything like that. I haven't got that in me at the moment or anything like that. I'm just still probably in this, whoa, we've got through. We think we've got through it. We've nearly got through it all. We've done that. We've done 12 months. Can we do a financial year? And then can we start moving forward again?
There's so much in there. And I can only imagine, I can't even empathize with how difficult that must have been. To go 17 years and then to hit such a big issue, how have you mentally digested that, and what impact has it had on your personal life? Because you've got kids, important ages.
Yeah. I think I just focused on the here and now, like that whole control what you can control piece. And there's been days where I felt like 18-hour days, and I went through that whole period. But I think you just take each day as it comes, try and stay relevant and stick to being you, how you that whole game face of how you operate on a daily basis, because I always thought, like, I need this staff to feel like they're in a great business, not in a business that is struggling. And, so whatever it was literally like, well done, and, and the troops are doing really well and all that sort of stuff. And so I think behind the scenes, I was thinking to myself, well, you know what is the worst case that's happened here? Well, I've lost 50% of my business. Well, okay, no problem. I had 50 once upon a time. So my drive was never to be, I want 100 and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, just putting it back down to the relevance of, right, what is important in life. Your health is number one. I've still got my health. I've still got my family. Actually, the rest is just business, and it's just money. And actually, I've got a roof over my head. I've been fortunate I've managed to keep pretty much everything intact. I just perhaps lost out on potential.
Did any of your I don't know. Did you see any change in the way you were at home or the way you showed up for your kids or your wife or anything like that? Was there any performance change there?
I was massively conscious not to. I think if you ask my wife, she'll probably say I was perhaps a little bit more intense during that certainly 3 to 4 month period where it was really long days, long hours, weekends, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, just tried to keep everything completely relevant in terms of like weekends is a switch off, it's family times, it's kids clubs, it's this and this, and not drop any of the little things, you know, the lifts to school or just what, you know, you can work. Doesn't matter what meeting it is, you can actually work.
But it's being mentally there though. That's the thing. I've been guilty of being physically there, but not mentally there when things have got. And I've not been through anything like that.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I haven't been, but I probably think I have been okay with it, to be honest. And yeah, I look at, again, the people around me as well from a business perspective. And I think, yeah, good people that I can speak to, you know, and whether that's 5 o'clock on a Friday where we have a little debrief club, should we say. So, yeah, just get a few things off your chest at that point.
You've got an incredible outlook, James. Honestly, like one of the most, you know, just down to earth, humble attitudes that so many people would see losing 50%, you know, after buying it back and everything they just find it really difficult to take, and they'd probably, you know, they go on a bit of a downward spiral off the back of that. Whereas you've seen the positives in it, you know, you've looked at it from what it is, because it is only a business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It genuinely is. You're not going to get to the end of your life and be on your deathbed and think about that 50%.
No.
You're not.
No, I'm genuinely happy, in a good place. So
obviously we've been working with you guys. In the midst of all this, you guys invested in working with us, right? Jovan was someone who I know, one of your team, and I think that's how the communication started. So what made you think about putting more investment back into the brand? Was it to do with this kind of new vision?
Yeah, I think it was realistically, I think historically been quite good at looking at the future. And yeah, Jovan approaching me going, actually, we need to do more. I need to do more. You need to do more. And you know, I've known these people a long time, so we can have honest conversations. And yeah, when he said, listen, I've listened to this, I've had a conversation, you come on the conversation. And all of a sudden it was Brav who we met on the call. And it was actually like, yeah, I know I need to, and yes, I know we need to, because we can't stand still. We still need to move forward, and we quite clearly know, you know, the power of LinkedIn and your personal brand is massive, and we get that. So I was up for joining the course.
Yeah, which is, again, now that I know the story, because I didn't know all of this that had gone on, I'm like, you know, I'm impressed you took the plunge to invest in new things. How have you found that experience, and what would you say tangibly you guys have been able to get from that?
So we've put 4 people through that the first tranche, if you like, Sean. I think all 4 of us have gained different elements of, some were already doing certain things really well, but I think it just brought it back into actually like a bit like recruitment. It's a process, so follow the process. But we probably needed your support to get the process right in the first place, and then how can we see those opportunities off the back of that? And everybody's probably slightly different in terms of the personnel that we'll see, how we interact with LinkedIn a little bit differently, and that might be from the standard recruitment consultant who can see more a tangible win where they found that candidate that responded to a post that they placed and they've ended up placing that can be monetized quite quickly. From my personal experiences, it's been about connections and speaking to people on the platform, looking at profiles, excuse me, and it's been about opportunities then, about, a big part of my job is about bringing the right people with the right opportunities and looking at efficiencies. And I've already had a small success of actually reaching out to someone through a connection on LinkedIn of actual a profile association, and made that connection and gone to interview stage and hopefully through to placement and hire.
Wicked. So even at your level, there's still opportunities to do deals through it.
Yeah.
And I think there's 3 things it will do. You know, it will obviously amplify you guys out into the candidate market. the client market,
Absolutely.
but also it's the talent, because you've already been a magnet for people leaving Hill McGlynn and all these things. As you define this new strategy and this new version of the business in 2025, you know, inevitably there'll be people that want to be a part of it, you know. So if you can remain consistent, even when the market is tricky, then I'm so excited to see what comes next. I always finish the show with a question that I've been given from a previous guest. Okay. I stole this from Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a CEO. I loved it. The question I've got for you, though, which maybe I've kind of picked up already, but what is the worst thing about being the owner of the recruitment business? Like, in your opinion, like, what's the one part of it that you don't like?
Jeez.
Because it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah, still question that. It's not. God, what's the hardest? Yeah, that's a tough one. I even like the knockbacks as well, weirdly, because I like to overcome those as well. And you can't do that, and oh yeah, watch me type of mentality. Yeah, I think I don't know. I think it's probably seeing the tangible successes, because you build a brand and it always feels like for tomorrow. And maybe someone that hasn't gone through an exit or some form of real reward, that I probably feel hard, like, yeah, it's tough. Everyone gets their commission, they've all done this. And I've always been from that mentality of make sure everyone's sorted, make sure the business sorted, that's got money.
Just put yourself last, basically.
Yeah. And I remember listening to something about pay yourself first, and I was like, I should have learned that 20 years ago, because I would be that pay yourself last mentality. So, but again, it's not like I don't like it. I think that's the hardest part I've had to deal with.
Hardest part. Yeah. Putting yourself last. James, thanks so much for your honesty. It's been incredible. People will learn and relate to this. So many people have been through difficult situations, especially in the last 18 months. If anyone wants to reach out and just ask you for advice and pick your brains on the detail and more so, is LinkedIn the right place to get you?
Yeah. My LinkedIn, or find me at psrsolutions.co.uk. Yeah.
Wicked. James, we'll get you back on in the future, I'm sure, and see what, once you've defined this future vision, how close you are to getting there. But I wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, thanks very much, Sean.
Pleasure. Thank you as always for listening to today's show. I truly hope that you got value from it. Honestly, it's the only reason I take time every week to ensure that my audience, you guys, future and existing recruitment owners, you're learning from each other to make this industry that I love so much stronger. And today's episode is brought to you by my business, Hoxo. I'm the CEO and founder, and we're on a mission to help brand recruitment agencies and their people better. I want to help people have the tools to stand out in the most competitive markets in the world. So I'll see you again next week with another episode. Catch you soon.